All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone. I'd like to start the morning by thanking our student performers. We have Sofia Best, Graciela Best, and Haven Perdomo. They are members of our cast of Schoolhouse Rock Junior, and we'd like to put a plug in and remember to please come out next weekend for our Schoolhouse Rock Spring Play. It will take place Friday, April 12th at 6 p.m. and then a matinee show next Saturday, April 13th at 3 p.m. Now if you please join me in standing, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing as our singers will sing the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies. You may be seated. I want to thank everyone for coming to our second annual State of the District Address. My name is Dave Raffel. I'm the principal here at Morris Grade School, and it's been my pleasure to serve the community as district principal for the past almost 2 years. Moving my family up here, one of the best things I've appreciated about this community is the willingness to collaborate with their schools. The partnerships that we have formed in the past couple years have truly enhanced the learning for every student here at Morris 54. I'm reminded by the words of Audrey Hepburn. She once said, as you get older, you realize that you have two hands, one to help yourself and one to help others. And I believe that those words ring true here at Morris 54. And I believe you'll see that this morning as we recognize some groups in the community that help come in and enhance the learning of our students. And now at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our Board of Education Secretary, Mr. Jim Hitchcock.
Hi, my name is Jim Hitchcock, and I am the Morris 50 School Board Secretary. It is my privilege and pleasure on behalf of the school board to welcome all of you. Educating a child is a process that begins at home, and it continues all the way through school and into the world. Education cannot be accomplished or measured in a single day, a single test, or even a single year. It is a lifelong journey that builds on success in the early grades to create a foundation for learning later on. It's a continuum of learning and support that begins when a child enters schools and continues through high school and beyond. Many people are needed along the way. Parents, teachers, school staff, administrators, and our community all have a role to play. Here at District 54, we take this role very seriously. And we're very grateful for the commitment shared by all people here for the Morris Grade School kids. We are delighted to have you with us to participate and share in our second annual State of the District Address. Thank you for coming. Many have joined us today, and it's a reminder of how important our work is. Now, it's my great privilege and pleasure to introduce Dr. Shannon Dudek, Morris School District 54 Superintendent, to present our Morris Grade School State of the District.
Good morning. Today's going to be an interesting day. We're going to give you a lot of information to look at. We're going to talk about all things District 54. We really hope that you'll understand and have a better idea and picture of what we do here in our district. We're going to recognize some people. We're going to recognize programs and other organizations that work with us. We're also going to talk about finance and facilities and all sorts of things. But I really want you to see, and we're trying to offer through visual representation, kind of what we're doing in a snapshot. And it seems like it's a little daunting as we start going through some of the work, but I'm going to do my best to really make it understandable because it can be very confusing sometimes. So we're going to go ahead and start with recognitions. And of course, thank you for attending. This is important to us that we can share our message and continue being transparent and open with everything that we do. We're very proud of the fact that we don't hide anything. Any information that we have available in the district is always available to anyone that would like to see it. I've said many times that I would be willing to meet with anyone to discuss any questions or any information pertaining to District 54. But to start, I'd like to recognize our students, and I know that our fine arts students do such a great job, and we're so fortunate to have them here. It's always a pleasure to see the school events and the different concerts and plays and things like that we have going on. And we have a few of those coming up here pretty soon. So I went ahead and added some pictures and different activities that we've been a part of inside the presentation, and we're going to talk about some of those. We do have some events coming up with the Fine Arts program that I'd like to share with you. On April 12th and 13th, we have the District 54 Fine Arts and Music Spring Musical Schoolhouse Rock. And some of you are aware of this program, and we're excited about doing that. Our next activity we have is the Fine Arts Night. And that's going to be on April 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then finally, we have our spring concert in May. And everyone gets excited about spring concerts because it's really close to the end of the year. And everyone gets excited about that. If you have an opportunity to attend any of these events, please do so. We also try to use our social media platforms to communicate pictures and sometimes video. So please take a look at those opportunities whenever they come on the calendar. So like I said, I want to go ahead and look at some of our student work and recognize their hard work, and make sure we give them the credit that they deserve for everything they do for our district. And Mr. Wozniak is still in here, which I appreciate, and the change and really improvement of what's going on in our district has been so incredible, and I really appreciate all that you do with the program, so thank you. And Mr. Collins isn't here, but I would love to, maybe I'm going to recognize him next year with his ukulele club for both students and staff. That maybe they'll perform next year at our State of the District. But I also want to move into recognizing staff members that we have with us today that have just done an incredible amount of work and impact on our school district. And I would like to talk first about our instructional coaches. Now, I talked last year at our first annual State of the District about bringing instructional coaches to our district, and it was a new concept. But we had people on staff that were so excited about applying for the position, and I think we had 5 or 6 teachers, internal employees, that wanted to be part of our program. Well, we went through the process and really worked hard in choosing Ms. Geis and Ms. Kaminsky for their hard work, or for their efforts and work in the classroom prior, and coming in with really a great plan and vision of what they wanted to offer. And I'll tell you what, it has been so much more than I could have ever imagined, and what they have been able to provide for us at District 54. But I want to talk about 3 areas that they've really excelled. First is they have done a tremendous job at really providing professional development to all of our staff. And I would love to go through everything, but this is just really a microcosm of what they have done. But they have Monday mentor meetings, Wednesday professional learning breakouts, teacher challenges or video reflections coming back, a monthly newsletter to both staff and peers, teachers, administrators, all sorts of people see that. Challenges posed to all staff for reflection. They presented at the Raising Student Achievement Conference. I will say, being biased probably a little bit, it was the best breakout session that I attended. but also seeing the recognition that other districts and other colleagues gave them, and seeing a full house where there weren't even enough seats in the room, to see people sitting on the floor trying to get their information was really powerful, and it made me incredibly proud to know that we worked together. They presented also at the Student IEA Conference in Bloomington, everything you need to know we learned our first year teaching, which I understand. I wasn't there for that, but I understand it was awesome. And then also, we're going to talk about Camp Invention here in a little bit, but it's actually a week-long STEM program that we're going to offer in June, that we are so proud that we're going to be able to do that. But we wouldn't be able to do that without some help from our partners. And Sarah Peters at Exelon, I'm looking for Sarah. She, just an incredible opportunity for her to come in and be a partner with us, and Exelon has been a great partner through our STEM activities, so I want to make sure we recognize that work. We also moved into other areas like grant writing. And grant writing is always a little tricky because it's hard. And a lot of people don't want to fool around with grant writing because it is difficult, it's a long process, but our instructional coaches have taken that and run with it. And some of the activities that are grants and activities that they have won for the district include the Illinois Educational Association grant for their projects and students and seniors supporting STEM. And we're going to talk about that here a little bit more in a second. Also, the Illinois Educational Association awarded SCORE grants to Illinois teachers, STEM kits given to participating schools to teach energy, 6th grade students presenting energy stations at the Arts Night, Thrive in Action item grant for STEM SNAP circuits, which the SNAP circuits, I'll tell you, I have a few students that like to run into my office and show me SNAP circuits. It's really incredible. Also received Learning to Give grant for community sensory learning paths to help students with diverse needs. Thrive in Action Team grant, Feliz Navidad. Junior high students made blankets for their grand friends at the gardens, and we'll show some pictures here in a minute. The Need.org additional science grant for $1,150 for 6th grade science materials. And they were chosen as KOOB Robotic Pilot Program, which is one of the first in the United States. All this wouldn't have happened without the work of the instructional coaches. And they have awarded, or actually won for our district, over $6,000. And I don't even think the value of what they have earned can even summarize what they have done overall, because the value in this project, $6,000, can't even remotely put a value on what they have done. So also the relationships we've done with others. So thank you very much for your hard work in that. So not only have they really been powerful with professional development, powerful with grant writing, they've also been powerful agents of change with community engagement in the district. And a couple of programs that I want to talk about, and we also want to make sure that we recognize the students in supporting STEM activities. And I don't think there's any way to fully understand how impactful they have been, both seniors with our students and students with our seniors, and seeing the activity happen over the course of the year. Over 8,000 people and growing have viewed the Gardens Facebook post. And I would ask that if you are not following us or the Gardens or any information pertaining to this program on our social media platforms, I implore you, do it. It's going to change your day when you see the pictures and you see the impact that they have on one another. Nicole Decker, the manager of the Gardens at Park Point, is here, and also Mr. Chris is here, the activities director of the Gardens at Park Point. So thank you very much for coming today and being part of this, and we really appreciate the partnership. The Camp Invention program is a week-long STEM learning activity. It's going to be June 3rd through the 7th here at District 54. Sarah Peters from Exelon also is going to be part of that program, which we're really excited about. This information has been on our social media platforms. Also, information has been posted throughout the building. We would love to have as many people as we can attend this camp and be part of our programming. And again, we're really excited about offering new STEM activities for our students at District 54, really in the community, I should say. So we do have some pictures of our grand friends relationships that we've had. And I think that when we went through the pictures and really started to identify the impact, it's easy to see sometimes, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. And whenever you can see the impact that our seniors have had on our students and vice versa, our seniors with our students and our students with our seniors, it's been so powerful. So these are just some of the pictures, and I always look at the top left, and it's really been so powerful when I see that. I saw it the first time, it really brings a tear to your eye because you can see how much they do love each other. So again, thank you so much for providing what you can for us, and we really are the ones that win in this, so thank you. The next group I'm going to recognize is a group that doesn't want any recognition, and that's just okay. because Mrs. Delorier has brought this program to District 54, and she deserves all of the credit to get this program started. I remember whenever she came to Mr. Raffel and I to talk about the program, and it's easy for me because I just want to get out of the way, to be honest, because it's really, I knew her relationship with this program, and I knew how important it is to her, and just sitting back and seeing how impactful it's been to our district has been so incredible. Because not only do students really value the need for a therapy animal, I would say, but for our case, our therapy dogs being in our district, I never imagined how important it would be for our staff, and for me, to actually have a little time with Martha or Thumbaloo and help me through some difficult times. So I really appreciate everything you've done, Mrs. Laurier. It's been such a great program to add to our program, and I'm just so glad. I'd love to see it expanding. And the program I'm going to talk about next has really been an extension of the program. And Mrs. Garcia and Mrs. Laurier really worked with providing a program called Sit, Stay, and Read. And I have a couple of pictures that just shows what happens. Coming in once a month, and I do have some supplementary documents. I want to read this stuff, so I know it's not the best way to present, but I definitely want to not miss anyone. So once a month, there are several therapy dogs that volunteer to come to our library to meet with our students. There are 11 handlers and a total of 16 dogs who have given our students a purpose and opportunity to enjoy reading in a relaxed setting. Each classroom in grades kindergarten through 4th grade have had a reading session with the dogs, and by the end of the school year, the dogs and their handlers will have encouraged over 700 District 54 students to read, read, and read. And without your hard work in that, sometimes we can't find motivators for our students to read, but we found one here, and it's really great to do that. So thank you very much for coming in and being part. I want to give specific recognition to the handlers and also our visitors. And some are here and some aren't, but I'm just going to read through everyone's name. Edie has Tessa, Sky, Maddie, and Frost. Jill has Goldie. Alex has Parker. Jody has Augustina and Dr. Silverman. Diane has Sarah, and Lori has Beanie. Paula Lutz is here with us today, and I think most of us in town know Paula really well. And Martha and Thumbaloo are working with Paula. Joe has Murphy. Jeff has Bailey. Trudy and Marty are also there, of course, and we've even had Christy and her dog, Louie. So I just wanted to make sure I read that because I want to make sure you guys are recognized for all you do for us. And again, thank you very much. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on. You guys are more than welcome to stay. I know that depends on what you need to do, but thank you very much for coming. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next group of people that we have. And the final recognition I want to have is our partnership with the Grundy County Sheriff's Department. And Ken Riley and even Sheriff Callahan, we worked together so hard to really provide a safe environment and really have someone that can support our students and staff here at District 54. And we talked about this last year, really offering the program. And over the course of the year, I just want to share how much of a success it's been. And we have a couple of pictures to show Deputy Dameron on the left, and she's been with us pretty much all year. And we've also had other fill-ins throughout the year, and we have a picture on the right of their activity and of being with our students. So our SRO, our school resource officer, has been such a blessed, just a real great addition to our staff, and really providing someone that can be effective in supervision and also helping deter some unwanted behaviors that we sometimes get in our schools through different emotional experiences. So it's great to have them here, and they're really a great part of our team. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move into some of the nuts and bolts of what happens at District 54. And I'll be upfront with you. The disclaimer is sometimes the information is overwhelming. And again, I'm going to do the best I can to help break down where we are with specific needs in regards to finance, curriculum, and facilities. Because a lot of times, everything is driven off of finance. And even though we don't like to say that, sometimes we can't maybe hire instructional coaches if we can't find ways to pay for it. So a lot of times we have to make sure our finances are in order to make this happen. And before we get started, I just want to give you some background. Our strategic management plan was designed by a group of people, teachers and staff, certified, non-certified, community members, board members, administration, and we developed a strategic plan that we feel is pretty effective. We're moving into the end of our current strategic plan, and we're going to begin working on our next strategic plan. And it's going to change, of course, because our times are changing. But I want to give credit, though. Whenever I came to the district 3 years ago, I've been here 3 years. It's hard to believe that we've been here 3 years. But we've been here 3 years. And I'll tell you that as soon as I came to District 54, I had many people reach out to provide support. Some people in this room, but there are people that aren't in this room, like Kathy Perry, like Pat Halloran. Those people worked really hard with me to help fully understand District 54 finances. And District 54 finances can be a little challenging if you don't know that. But I feel that we have developed a plan that really puts us in a good situation. We're able to do a lot of great things, even though we're restricted with funding and different responsibilities. I'm very proud of the work that everyone has really put together in getting to where we need to go for our students. So today I'm going to go through some different slides that will help you understand both where we are and where we've come from in regards to finance. So the first slide I want to talk about is simply our equalized assessed value trends. Now EAV simply is the value of all property inside of our school district. Now I want to show you really focus on a couple of points. We've had a lot of things happen in our district over the years, but you can see at one time we were right around $258 million in equalized assessed value. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of value. But we've had things happen in our community over the course of the last 10 years or so that have had an impact on our EAV. And you can see over the years, we actually decreased to a point that whenever I started, when I came to the district in 2016, we were actually pretty much at our lowest in the last 10 years. Now, that's not a bad thing. I mean, it could be better, of course, but we need to be creative in how we do things. So over the last 3 years and really 4 tax cycles, we were approaching getting back and actually trending in the right direction, trending north, if you will. So you can see that this year we have an assessed value of around $217 million. Now that's exclusive. We do have one TIF district we have multiple, but we have one large TIF district in our district, and it's quite valuable. So this is after the TIF exclusions. So this is revenue that we can actually use. So I just want to be clear and show you the trend. We did trend south, but now we're trending north, and we're very happy for that. Again, there are a lot of reasons why. The valuations are increasing, the market's better, things like that are helping, so that's how we are trending north. The next slide, doesn't work with that. The next slide talks about how we actually capture revenue. And you can see in this slide that most of our revenue comes from local sources, about 50%. About 38% come from the state sources, and we're going to talk about evidence-based funding here in a few minutes, but it comes from the state with state aid. And then ultimately there are some federal sources, like our grants, Title I grants like that we get from the state. This slide is important to see because it really shows our tax rate trend. And one challenge that I was faced with very early when I got here was the concern from community members and community leaders that we are, quote, taxing people out of their homes. And that's a pretty difficult conversation to have with people whenever I hear that the school district is the primary source of a tax increase. And whenever we are impacting people and how they live, that's scary for me and that's a lot of responsibility. But I want to show you and really break this down for you. You can see that in 2009, our total tax rate was $3.13. Today, in 2017, we're at $3.60. But if you remember my first tax year, 2015, we pledged that we would keep the tax rate flat at $3.60. So for the 3 years that I've been working here, and the team has worked so hard in really making sure that our tax rate stays at $3.60, and we've worked hard at doing that. So I want to give credit to both people outside of our district that helped us get to where we are, but also people inside of our district, like our admin team, our central office team, our finance people, Jill Mills and Lori Carlson, and all the hard work that everyone's putting in to really ensure that we do stay at $3.60, because that's the pledge that we're making toward our community. But the most important, I listed all of the funds that we tax on the right-hand side as part of the legend. I want you to realize the light purple is building debt. Building and working cash debt. Our working cash debt is what we pay every year for our teacher salaries and benefits. And the remaining debt, the purple values, are where we're sitting today. So our building and our working cash debt to pay salaries and benefits equate to this purple area. So one day, we feel that if we continue paying our debt on time and we can continue doing what we're supposed to do, this debt will decrease to a point that we can leave our tax rate alone at $3.60 for the long term. That's our goal. And in simplistic terms as possible, if we leave the tax rate where it is, you won't have tax increases from the school district if you have increases in your taxes. We hope that your value of your home increases, which in turn may increase your taxes on your tax bill, but that's not because of District 54. And that's really what we're striving for. So our next slide, we're going to go ahead and talk about our historical tax rate. And again, this is very similar to the last slide, but I just want to go ahead and show you that we have maximums in place. We only have a few categories that we can manipulate, and you'll see NA with those funds. The other funds are all statutorily capped, so we can't increase taxes in those funds without a referendum, and we're not doing that. But we do manipulate our funds, these three funds, to help lower the burden on the taxpayer. And again, that's really in the weeds finance. And I would love to meet with you if you'd like to talk about this more in depth. But for the sake of this conversation, the focus is going to be continue to stay at $3.60, and that's what we'll be doing. The next slide is going to be really, it's going to demonstrate how EAV and the tax rate works. So when the equalized assessed value of the district love to hear the chuckles. By the way, I have two pointers and I can't confuse the two. So if you look at EAV in 2008, you can see that our EAV was right here. We had high value of EAV. It really peaked in 2009. Our EAV dropped, like we talked about, and it slowly started to increase. But you can see our tax rate is here. And our tax rate was lower, and it was okay because our EAV was higher. We didn't have to go to the taxpayers for more revenue. But what happens whenever EAV decreases, as you can assume, in order to keep the programming the same, or what we've offered to students and community members, that the tax rate had to increase. So as our EAV decreased, our tax rate increased, and this is the situation we're in now. So whenever we came in, and this says 2014, but understand that the tax year is 2 years after the fiscal year. So in 2016, the tax rate was capped in our term and determination, and it really stayed flat. It's going to continue to stay flat long term. But the EAV is increasing, and we hope one day we're going to meet it like right here. We hope. That's our goal. So I want you to understand that's why tax rates change, that's why EAVs increase, that's the impact on everything, because we can't pay for what we have or pay for what we want to do if we don't have revenue inside the district. And if you can't capture it with equalized assessed value, property tax, then you have to capture it in another way. And that's why the tax rate is where it's at, and that's also why the EAV has had such an impact on our district. So I know it's a lot of information, I see a lot of glazed looks in the crowd, but it's very important that you understand where that comes from. I also like this slide because it really talks about our debt overall. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire slide, but I want you to understand that that's why I don't do that. I want you to understand that this debt slide is really what drives everything in our district. So you can see right now we're in this year. We're in fiscal year 2019, tax year 2017. You can see that our outstanding obligation is $3.6 million in debt. This doesn't include, well, this does. This number right here, 2.5 million, does not include a $2 million working cash bond that we do every year. And that pays for salaries and benefits of all of our employees. So next year is the first year of a balloon payment that was really pushed back on our building debt to the end of the building debt bond. So in the next 6 years, you can see there's going to be an increase on our outstanding obligation debt. So next year, whenever we add $2 million to $2.5 million, you can see that that's $4.5 million, correct? You can also see that that's about $800,000 more than it was this year. And it continues on for the next 6 years. Now, I will tell you that in our first 2 finalized budgets that we've been a part of here at District 54 on our team, we have saved about $1.7 million. So we feel that we're going to be able to knock out, quote unquote, 2 years of a bond balloon payment. Now, we're going to continue moving in the same direction to continue to save revenue so we can continue to pay down the remaining bond balloon payments. We are using TIF district surplus dollars from the city. We're using evidence-based funding dollars from the state. We're using very meticulous budgeting practices at District 54. So we work really hard at saving anything we can because we know that over the next 6 years, our bond commitments are going to be much more expensive. And what was the most important thing that we're trying to do for taxpayers in our district? Remember that number? $3.60. My goal, and our goal as a team, is to keep the tax rate at $3.60. And we can't do that if we start not being responsible with these balloon payments coming up now. We feel though our plan is good. We feel our plan is going to be successful. And we feel that our plan is going to be able to cap the tax rate at $3.60 long term in order for these balloon payments not to have a negative effect on our taxpayers. Does that make sense? It's not in your head if you get that. Okay. And again, that's a lot of information, but I want you, it's important to know it. I will tell you one final point about this slide that I love to see, and sometimes I go back and just look at this year just to really get excited about things. In 2029 fiscal year, 10 years from today, if we don't do any building projects or any construction projects, we will be completely debt-free in 2029, in 10 years. But I will say in 2026, that's going to be a pretty happy year too, because our balloon payments will be paid and we'll be in a much different place. But in the short term, we're excited about 2023 because we have a 15%, we feel at this time, increase to our EAV based on the TIF actually expired in 2023. So we have a series of events happening over the next 10 years that we feel is going to be incredibly powerful for our district financially. So we want to put our financial growth back into our classroom with our kids and work toward achievement. Okay? I think all of us need to move on. So the next slide, we like to talk about enrollment, of course. And we use birth rate data in our county and our city to really identify areas that, or I should say kindergarten classes that are going to be coming in. And we see that we're going to have a pretty consistent trend moving forward with our kindergarten rates. And that's good for us because even though we have a big building of 200,000 square feet, we do have quite a few space challenges in our district. So it's important to know how many sections we have and how many kids we have coming into our district to make sure that we do well with our space. This slide is important because I want to talk quickly about our low income rate. And you can see the orange columns really stand for enrollment, tells us where we are with our kids. But the green line identifies low income students in our school district. And I think all of us can look at year 2011 to 2012 and say, wow, that's a really large increase in low income students. And I would argue that there could be maybe some office changes, maybe some technical changes to where the number increased. I don't know in 2012 if the school district at that time decided to require everyone in the district to fill out paperwork, whether or not they were low income. I don't know that. But what I do know is the state reporting shows that we had quite a change in our low income population. I don't feel that that was probably correct. I probably had around the same numbers or increase, maybe gradual. A large increase like that is probably an error in data. But I will say, looking at 2012 on, you can see that our low-income population hovered around 40%, and it peaked last year at 49%, roughly, and now it did drop this year to 46%. But that's important to see, though, because that obviously brings different challenges, and it's important that we know, as district leaders, that that does have an impact on our school and our learning environments. I want to talk about evidence-based funding for a few minutes because it's been a great benefit to our school district. And I appreciate Senator Resin in the crowd, and I know that she worked on this evidence-based funding model for our districts and other districts in Illinois. And evidence-based funding is simply a new way to fund education, and it's based on evidence, obviously. And there are quite a few factors that go into how much school districts receive, and I can't go into that today, but it really helps identify what do we need in our school district that we don't have based on research. And if we want to include those people in our school district, the state has a formula that helps build a revenue source to actually add those people. So for our district, I want to move to the next slide and show you, in our district, through evidence-based funding, we've added roughly $300,000 to the evidence-based funding, our revenue sources. Over on the right-hand side. We started at the base minimum level a couple years ago at $3 million, but then we were able to get new funding for around $300,000. And then the question is, what can we do with that money? So we decided that we would actually add 2 elementary teachers to help lower class sizes. So we had a couple of grade levels that really were approaching a high number that we felt that we needed to reduce to have a more appropriate grade section number. So we went ahead and added 2 elementary teachers. We also added a special ed teacher to support student needs, and most importantly, or I should say also importantly, we added 2 instructional coaches that can help support students and staff in all areas. So it's important to understand how, even though we're able to keep our tax rate where it is, our evaluation is increasing, but we also have new ways to pay for things. And with the evidence-based funding model, we were able to add people specifically that had a direct impact on children, because we know through research, direct contact with students has the most impact on student achievement and student support, both academically and through social emotional needs. So we feel that we wanted to add people, and we knew we had to have direct contact with kids, so we used our evidence-based funding model to bring 5 people on board that could have direct contact with students and staff. I also wanted to include in this slide our neighbors. Now, I want you to see the first column. It's important to see that. It's called the tier column. This is a tier group. And you can see that we have a 4 through 1 or 1 through 4. There are 4 tiers. We are tier 1. Tier 1 is the most needed, the districts that most need the evidence-based funding dollars. Tier 4, or group 4, would show that they need it the least. Now there are some things you need to understand about that. Tier 1 groups are the last group to have any reduction in their evidence-based funding dollars. So we feel really, really good that if there is ever a reduction in dollars, that we won't have a reduction in our district. If I was a tier 4 district, I would assume that it would be me first, and that's the case. But as you move over, you can see that our neighbors, they have their base funding minimum, which was a couple of years ago, and then their new state evidence-based funding model funding. And then on the new tier funding column, you'll see how many dollars, or how few or how less that they receive through the new funding model. And then ultimately the last column, you can see that our district is one of the highest at the increase in evidence-based, I should say, tier funding per pupil. So our students actually receive more. And the other piece of this I want to acknowledge is that since we are tier 1 student group, we actually have other technology dollars and other dollars that we can apply for to actually help do some of the other things that we're doing in relation to technology and instruction. So in this regard, we're in a really good place in our district with evidence-based funding model. The final piece with evidence-based funding and really finance is to talk about the advocacy level. And the advocacy level is simply what would it take in our school district to really provide the same, or I should say adequate level of instruction for our students. And you can see that they feel $13,000 roughly is what it would take. We're a tier 1 district, but we were only at roughly 61% of advocacy. So we have a ways to go. So we hope that we continue to have increased evidence-based funding dollars in the model, and we continue to receive those dollars, and we continue to provide education and instruction to our students, provide more, and then ultimately have more of an adequate playing field in Illinois. Because as some of you have heard, it's really, in a lot of ways, opportunity of choice or chance of where you end up in this state depending on how much you can be provided in education, depending on where you're born or where you grow up in the zip code. And that's very unfortunate in our state, that we don't have the equity that we need. So that's finance. So we all need a break, right? We need like an hour break to like relax. But no, I wanted to make sure you receive the information. You have the information. All of the slides that I'm going to show today are going to be shared on our social media platforms. So even if you saw something you want to look at more closely, you'll have the opportunity at your desk or at your screen. But of course, if you have any opportunity as going through it and you want to have more conversation with me, I would love to set that up with you. But I want to move into more strategic management and facilities and talk about what we're doing instructionally. We decided, going on 3 years, that when we built our strategic plan, we really wanted to focus on our vision and our mission statement. And our vision statement obviously is a really important piece, but our mission is really inspiring excellence in every child, every day. And it's very simple, and we feel we do that. We can always get better, of course, and we can always grow, but I'm really proud of our work that we put in with that. I do want to show you some slides in relation to student achievement, student development, and sometimes it's important to realize that there are a lot of factors that go into achievement, let's say. But it's important to realize our goals with our strategic management plan are very simple. We want to vertically and horizontally align our curriculum. And I see Dr. Ortiz here, and I'm really glad he came from the high school because our emphasis on vertically aligning our curriculum, pre-K to 12, is absolutely necessary for our students in our community. We have to be on the same page, elementary and high school, and being a separate district. And I really appreciate the work the high school does with our district and other elementary districts to make that happen. But we also have to vertically align. A lot of times, well, I'll say historically, not necessarily our teachers, but there are people that don't want to be on the same page maybe as their neighbors. 4th grade teachers or 2nd grade teachers that don't necessarily want to do, maybe horizontally align their curriculum. Well, that's something we work really hard for, and our teachers here have done an incredible job of doing that. It's really important to align horizontally and vertically, and making sure that we provide for our students. Also, we want to align to curriculum to our Common Core standards, of course. And we also want to provide the quality professional development, the most impactful professional development. And we actually, with our Title I grant, allocate, Mrs. Stover, $25,000 a year, $34,000 a year in professional development training for our teachers and our staff. That's a lot of money, and we use federal dollars to do that. So that's not from the local tax base. I will say our student achievement, I want to talk about 3 pieces of data. And I don't know if you've seen in the newspaper, actually yesterday and today, our new state superintendent wants to actually provide research to say, do we really need to look at proficiency data in the state? Is it important that we look at a snapshot in time to determine whether or not our students are meeting or exceeding in math and ELA? And I could probably tell her that answer. I think she knows the answer, but it's important that we find research. And I think you're going to see a change. There's already been a change in growth versus proficiency, because proficiency just means today, right now, what do I know, versus growth and what do we learn over time. And in our school, we have an increase. We're showing growth in language arts and ELA. But again, this is a proficiency test. This isn't a growth test. And I would love to show more growth data to show what we do and the incredible things we do for our students. But I want to show you proficiency data in a couple of slides. But I'll tell you, in 2 slides, it tells you how I really think about proficiency data. We only have 2 slides. But we do have 2 slides. And the first one, like I said, talks about ELA proficiency. And right now, we're a little over 30% proficient, meets or exceeds in the year 2017. And that's our last testing data we have. With math, we're a little bit lower. We showed a decrease actually from last year in this area. I don't believe this area is correct and really gives you a good demonstration of what our kids know in ELA and math. And unfortunately, I think I'm showing a little bias to you in the crowd. But I would love to see, and probably next year, we're going to see more growth slides and growth achievement data versus proficiency. But one area that I'm really proud of is our kids assessment. And this summary data displays the percentage of students who need additional support and those students who are demonstrating kindergarten readiness is measured by the 14 state readiness measures for the kids assessment. And you can see that in our school district, our kindergartners are really rocking it. To me, looking at the readiness Standards is a better representation, 14, than looking at one test to give us a proficiency understanding of where our kids are at. Does that make sense to you? I'm very proud of our work with our kindergarten, preschool students as they come through in our state, and how much we are really above the state average. I'm really proud of that, and they need to know that. And the work that Mrs. Stover does with the preschool program and getting them ready for kindergarten can't go unrecognized, so thank you very much for that. As we move through the system, I want to talk about our preschool program next. I wanted to segue into that. Because our preschool program has just really begun here at District 54, I should say Morris Community Schools. Because we partnered with Morris Community Schools to really write the Preschool for All grant as a community grant. And our partnership between the districts serves 128 students, and it was funded for over $400,000. So a Preschool for All program grant like that, that's a lot of money. We have sites at Morris Grade School and Saratoga. Our Preschool for All program achieved the gold circle of quality through the Accelerate Illinois program, and that should demonstrate, tell you how great our program is, because in the first year, we received the gold standard. And again, that's because of your leadership of the team, so thank you. The transportation has been provided for all students, which is something that we're incredibly proud of. We additionally hired a parent educator as a liaison between the community, families, and schools. We have family community nights, we have the Family Fall Fest, and we have the Gingerbread Jamboree. And it's so great just to watch our pre-K program in action. And I wanted to give you a couple pictures just to represent some of the happy faces that we see all the time with our preschool program. We're not in the co-op program anymore, we're not in an independent program, it's our program. And that's what's exciting about what we can do with our kindergartens and preschool students. We also have shared professional development with more schools. We don't do this alone. We have shared PD, we have articulation meetings between the elementary districts and the high school district, and we have shared curriculum decisions. And this year, through Mr. Raffel and his team's hard work, it's the first textbook adoption that we are doing with other school districts to really horizontally align our curriculum with others. And I'm so excited. Our science, I should say our pilot program, they're kind of piloting those curriculum now, and then we're going to actually have a recommendation here real soon. We're going to take it to the board. It's going to be our first fully integrated, shared, we think shared, if they like what we like and we like what they like. It's going to be our first textbook adoption program that we're really going to be doing together. And we intend on using the same model moving forward with all of our content areas. So thank you very much for that. Moving into talking about our recognition, and it's important to talk about recognition because we've talked about other things that were going on. We talked about proficiency and where we are. We talked about kids assessment and all those things. But I want you to hear this. This year, we were recognized, District 54 was recognized by the Raising Student Achievement Conference as a featured school district in Illinois. And Mr. Raffel, there are 6 districts in Illinois, 8 districts? And we were one of them. So I think our team deserves a round of applause for their hard work in making it. Moving into our technology goals, it's important obviously that we know that technology is an important part of what we do. It's not a replacement. It's not a hologram in the classroom. It's actually technology as a tool for our teachers. And some of the goals that we had as part of our strategic management plan is we want to support learning that reflects contemporary exchanges and interactions. We want to provide quality professional development, and we want to support engaging technology in forms of communication, feedback, and assessment. And there are a couple things I want to talk about in this slide. We are doing all sorts of things with communication and technology, but the board actually just approved last month the replacement of all of our smartboards in our classrooms, which I'm really excited about. And I think most importantly is we're able to pay for that using federal grant dollars. So again, we're doing things differently. Instead of going back to the local taxpayer and saying we need more, we're actually trying to figure out ways to do it differently. And the Title I grant actually awarded us about $50,000 more than we thought we would get. So we actually turned a need, such as new technology in the classroom for teachers supporting students, to really something that can be provided through a tech lease, through a grant opportunity. And we're paying that, like I said, without using tax dollar resources. So I'm really proud of that too. So that's something that we're going to be moving into pretty fast. Actually, when you walk down the hallways and you see them stacked up all over the place, there's a lot of excitement about getting their new smart boards. So that's going to happen real soon. And the final goal that we talked about are really the community engagement goals. Our focus coming into the school district 3 years ago was really to reconnect with our school district and our community. I work really hard as your superintendent to do the best I can in all areas, and we're involved in a lot of organizations in town. We have a lot of partnerships that we work with closely, and I feel that our really climate in our community is very positive when it comes to the school district and the community, and we're going to continue to grow. I'm going to talk about some specific options and opportunities that we've been able to work with the community here in a few minutes, but it was really important for us to include it as part of our strategic management plan to increase communication to all staff, students, parents, and community members. We wanted to do more with really engaging with our community. So as we move into the next category of facilities, this gets exciting too because we start to see how we can apply what we've done to really those around us. We know that our facilities, they need to improve and change. We know that school district buildings are actually community buildings. And our buildings, both here and at Shannon, are used for all sorts of things, right, Mr. Iverson? Yes, sir. So it's important that we really reiterate to the community that these buildings are not Dr. Dudek's buildings. They're not the school buildings alone. We have to use community buildings in that approach in order to really most effectively use what we have. Many organizations rent or use our district buildings, such as rentals, community service, but then we also have shared activities such as the Morris High School soccer, track, and football programs. You know, over at Shannon, we have soccer, high school boys soccer uses the facilities. They've actually used this space back here many times. We've also shared in a track partnership that many of you know about. And then also we have practice fields that the football team uses, and it's been a great partnership with them. But some of the partnerships that we have, as you can see on the slide, I'm not going to talk about all of them, and there are more that I didn't include after I made the slide and thought about it this morning that I didn't include. But I want you to understand that this is really important to show that we can't do what we do without the partnerships in the community. Specifically, I want to talk about the city of Morris. And I don't see Mayor Kopchak here, but I wanted to give him recognition because the work that the city has done with the district over the last 3 years has been incredibly powerful. I want to talk about a few of the examples. Have you guys noticed Locust Street right here? See the gravel or the base layer is down? We were told that in May, the road's going to be finalized. The road would not have happened without our partnership with the city in our continual meetings with the city and Illinois Department of Transportation to make that happen. Now, our students in the event of an emergency can be taken care of in a much quicker, safer way when they're going to be able to, the fire or rescue can come here and go down Locust Street. So we're really excited about the additional access to our district. And I can tell you that our homeowners down the street are pretty excited about that too. We also have DuPont Street improvements. So if you look on DuPont Street, we have some new sidewalks. We have lighting at the park, which has been an incredible addition to our programs. Hopefully getting less people parking on DuPont Street, more people parking in the parking lot. But also, they have been supportive of us, the city, in helping us do things here at our school districts. Our school district and our buildings. Can you see the sidewalk right here outside of our building? That was completed by the city of Morris. We pay for materials, they pay for labor. It's been a great partnership. Crossing the street, the ramp, the lights, we will see lights crossing the road, similar to what you see at the hospital. That's going to happen. But also we've had tree removal work help with them. There have been all sorts of things that have come around and actually helped us doing that work. The city park we talked about a little bit ago, how they've been able to add parking and lighting and safe places for people to go for our night events so we can allow people to be in a safer environment. And then finally, I wanted to include this today. We have a military visit day. That's what we're going to call it on May 2nd. And one of the most, really been a great friend of mine since I came here a few years ago. We share a lot of conversation, a lot of things in common. Jerry Circle's in the back of the room, and he's just been a great supporter of our district and working with the city and me and our leadership team as a liaison, and I really appreciate your hard work. But on May 2nd, we're going to have a military visit day, and we're going to have an air vehicle fly in, we're going to have land vehicles show up, our kids are going to be interacting with our vets and our soldiers, And we're really excited to offer new opportunities to our kids to really experience something different. So, Jerry, thank you very much for your hard work for our district. I want to talk a little bit about rentals because I don't think anyone understands how important our rentals are to our school district, because we receive a lot of revenue from our rental program. We have different groups that use our facilities all over the place, but there are a couple on here that really do and really spend a lot of their funds with us, and specifically they're the top three. Crossbridge Church is an organization that uses this space where you're sitting to actually hold their church services on Sunday morning. Again, this is a community building. They use our facility and do great things. Now, do you see this incredible display up here? You guys see how great this looks? Well, they decided to improve what we have in here with audio-visual. Yeah, I don't have the blinds coming down the windows, but if we need to, we can really close the blinds with a click of a button. Those are things that Crossbridge Church has done for our school district and our building, but also they pay their yearly fee to use this space. Morris Hospital, as most of you know, have really become part of our family at Chavanon because they have roughly 30,000 square feet now at Chavanon, and they have really turned an older school, repurposed it into a business park. And to see that their work inside the building has just been absolutely phenomenal. And their partnership with us has been great. And obviously Joliet Junior College has been important to us to be really a partner in education, and having them at Chavanon using 5 or 6 classrooms to really offer programming for our community members here at Morris. And our partnership with them has been great. Those three probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't really consolidate 2 buildings to 1 3 years ago, and able to have available space to them. And I would say a fair estimate would be about $800,000 in either savings and or new revenue coming into our school district because of the partnership of closing one building, coming here, and then offering to repurpose the building in another way. And that money comes directly back to our school district to help pay our debt, keep our tax rate the same, and then ultimately provide for our students. So that has been such a great change. I'm so proud of everyone's work on that. So we're going to continue to do well with that and work hard with our rental program and do as much as we can with anyone that would like to use our community buildings. Well, we have had some building improvements over the last couple of years. The space that we're under right now actually needed a new roof last year. We were able to save about $1.2 million by actually covering the roof with kind of a saran wrap type of material, if you will, to help us understand it. But they've been actually able to cover the existing roof for about $300,000, and then ultimately giving us a 20-year warranty to go along with it. So instead of putting a new roof on the building and doing that, we were able to do it differently and save about $1.2 million. We also saved additional parking space cost. Initially, the parking space was going to be about $260,000 to put a new parking lot in the front of the building, which we didn't really like. So we talked to Barry Narvik and at North Construction, and we were able to put in parking spaces in the back of the building for much less, and we saved about $200,000. We also had a little water problem at Chavanon. Some of you may or may not have heard about this, but at Christmas last year, Mr. Raffel was just going to check out things, and he had a basketball. Whenever the basketball hit the gym floor, because he was in the dark, water came up around him. Well, we had a pipe problem at Chavanon, and with that, we had to have a total change of our floor. And I'm going to get to that in a second, show you some pictures if you haven't already seen it, but it's turned out just incredibly well. We have a security system at White Oak that I'm really proud of. We have surveillance all around the building except classrooms, really, and private spaces. But we've been able to really use that in a lot of ways to help with things such as obviously safety and security, but also bullying and any type of assaults or any type of negative behavior. We've been able to use our security system. We also know that we have a shared track now, District 101 and District 54. We're really proud of that project. I'm going to show you a couple pictures here in a minute if you haven't seen that lately. But if you can, try to get out to an activity there because it is really incredible. And then also we talked about the Morris Hospital Chavanon renovations. We are going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony at the hospital, with the hospital in District 54 at Chavanon. I invite everyone to be there for that activity and have an opportunity to see Chavanon the way it was before, well, I should say after they came, which is really incredible. But a couple pictures I want to show you. The roof project, like we talked about, this is from the air. This is during the roof project completion. And you can see that they took the existing roof and basically just covered it. And they did that over the entire space. You can also see in the next slides, our shared track. And you can see, it is just so different. That's all I can say. I asked if this was just a taste, that you go over there and take a look at it. But not only did we have a new space, obviously new lanes, we have new equipment. You see this area right here? That's new drainage that sometimes gets forgotten in the project. So our football field actually drains now a little bit, well, a lot better. So there are a lot of things that we've done over there. This didn't even include behind the visitors bleachers where we have a new field event area that has been really just remarkable too. So if you get a chance, please stop over there and take a look at the project that we partnered with the high school and really done some great things. Now I said earlier that we had a gym project we had to fix. Do you guys remember the old gym? Do you guys vaguely remember being in there? Well, here's a picture that really helps summarize the difference. Can you see, we decided we wanted to take out the old kind of logo off the gym floor that was in this section right here. So it was actually cut out and mounted to the wall because we don't forget our past. We obviously have to move forward, but we're not going to forget our past. And you can see that we have a new gym floor. The space is so much brighter and just different. Ray Grossi worked with us to complete all of our graphics on the floor. When you walk into the gym floor today, seeing the difference versus before is just remarkable. And we're really proud of what we've done there. And then finally, we added other visuals to help really enhance what we do inside the gym. But we're really proud of that space, of course. And we're gonna have our graduation there and other activities there toward the end of the year, so I'm sure you'll be able to see that. We have a few other agencies that we work with quite a bit. Our shared service program that we work with the other school districts has been very powerful. Specifically transportation, since the inception of the shared transportation program with Saratoga and the high school, our district has saved roughly $1.5 million. That's a lot of money. And a shared service program like we have should be a model across the state. Districts working together, trying to make things happen for the community. We also consolidate, I should say, share our food service, our office and school supply, and our building and grounds maintenance team. So these people work across the districts. And I see Chris Lyons back there, and she deserves some recognition because she is all over the place. And now she's even working with helping them transition to a kitchen and the things that they're doing over there. But we couldn't do what we do here, and the other school districts couldn't do what they do without Chris and her team. So Chris, thank you very much for your work. And moving into the last slide pretty much, I want to talk about communication. Because another challenge that we faced whenever we came to District 54 was really a loss in communication from the school to the community. And our goal, because not only was it a problem with communicating back home, we had issues with communicating to our students inside the building. So we really thought, we brainstormed different ways that we could be better at really communicating with those around us. We wanted to really manage communications effectively and not just blanketly communicate through voice calls or blast emails or those sorts of things. We want to be a little bit better. We always review our current practices with communication. There are many problems both in and out of school that can be directly traced back to our ineffectiveness not to communicate. So we know the importance of communicating around. And it doesn't matter whether information was communicated or not. It's important to know what was communicated, how it was communicated, and who communicated it. And those are things that we're really focused on because we know that you can't understand what's going on if we don't share our information. And ultimately, you can't be proud of our school district if we can't share our message and our story. Because I think everyone here knows the media, of course, right? We know sometimes negative people. We know those situations. If we don't share the positive, true story of things, someone else will. So it's our goal to always communicate the message. Now, I don't want to embarrass anyone. We're going to get into district communications here in a minute. I'm always curious. We look at data all the time, and I always wonder how many people have downloaded our app. How many people have looked at our website? How many people have done those things? Because I'm really proud of what we've done both in the classroom and in the district. In the classroom, we do some really effective things, and our teachers are great at it. They use programs like newsletters and letters to parents, email, websites, Remind, but there's also just an array of programs that teachers use with their families to really share good news and messages. So please take an opportunity. I'm sure you guys all use those programs with your children. Just continue to look at those. From the district point of view, though, we've really worked hard over the last couple of years to really improve our website, improve social media. We have a smartphone application that we have found to be really incredibly powerful. We have outdoor marquees and indoor signage, and then we also use broadcast notification quite a bit. And some of those examples look like this. If you haven't already downloaded the app on your phone, please do so. Everything District 54 is on the app. Also, we use Twitter and Facebook. We're probably going to move to Instagram. I haven't said that yet, but we're probably going to start doing some more with Instagram. And then ultimately, we have an outdoor marquee. Has anyone seen the outdoor marquee? It's very important, very effective. We put information on there all the time. And then also, something that is unique to some school districts is that we have indoor signage. And you've probably seen the monitors all around. We have a monitor right here in the cafeteria. We continually display information for our students. Our students need to know what's going on too. They're the most active participants in this building. They have to know what's going on. And we feel the constant change and communication on indoor marquees and indoor monitors are incredibly effective for them. But the question is always, what's next? And we're going to continue to improve. We're going to continue to get better. We're going to continue to improve our learning environments and make them safe. We're going to increase our student achievement and engagement. We're going to improve and increase our STEM activities. We're always going to improve through professional development for staff, and most importantly, our relationships with students, school, home, and the community. We know that relationships are where it's at, and we have to build relationships because we're never going to have achievement if we can't connect with our students. And social emotional needs that we know where they are today, we're going to do everything we can to help our students be successful. We're going to continue to financially work to eliminate school district debt. We know that school district debt is a burden to our district, and we're going to continue to work to eliminate the burden. And we're always going to effectively use our school community buildings. That's always going to happen. So with that, I thank you for coming to the State of the District. I thank you for taking the time to understand what happens at District 54. And I thank you for continuing to show and demonstrate your desire to support our school district. So thank you.